business and expand your business. But when you do, and you got to get permits from City Hall and do something, what do you think of? Do you think of City Hall as a partner, a friend, or a hindrance? I mean, I heard of horror stories where you have to hire a consultant to go stand in line for you. We got to make LA more business friendly. And for example, I'll give you one concrete example. Anybody in the fashion industry here? And I said this story many times. Okay, there's a thing called the Magic Show. Okay, it has nothing to do with magic. It's a week-long industry fashion show, world-renowned in Vegas. What MAGIC stands for is Men's Apparel Guild in California. Okay, like many conventions, it outgrew Los Angeles and went to Vegas. Now, an interesting thing, a lot of folks in the magic industry told me, the fashion industry told me, did you know, David, that 50% of the people that go to the magic show are from Los Angeles, downtown LA? It takes them on average $50,000 to pack up everything, hotel fee, meals, you name it, to go over there for a week. So they said, they came up with a bright idea. Everyone says there's no manufacturing in LA, there's huge manufacturing in LA, we need to foster it, right? So they said, why don't we have our own little mini magic show here at the convention center? Half the people that go there are here. We could call everybody, all the fashion folks to come here. Imagine all the hotel stays, the revenues, restaurants and whatnot that I could generate. I've been working with them for 3 years. I can't get them to open up the convention center. Right? So, we have to foster existing businesses. We don't need an economic zone. The whole point of innovation means you don't lock it up in a box among like a few square blocks. It's the whole city.
All right. You look like you really want to say something. No? I know he was waving while I was waiting. So before we get to the questions from the audience,
I want to hear from these folks.
I just want to briefly ask you, just what is people don't think of the city council as it's routine, business as usual, no thinking outside the box. Is there a thinking outside the box proposal on any one specific area that you've been percolating that you think would just really wow people?
Wow, thank you. I mentioned earlier about the no developer pledge. Right? And even before we think outside the box, we got to get even more basic than that. There is no distrust. Doesn't matter about the idea. There's no distrust between you, the voter, you, the community member, and the city hall. Right? City hall's like a big black pit, a black hole where money goes in and it just goes somewhere and disappears. Right?
There's no trust. You said there's no distrust.
No, there's no trust. I'm sorry. Okay. There's no trust. So. We don't even have to
but what's your idea?
So we don't even have to think outside the box. The 2020 Commission, which I fully agree with, which the president of the city council commissioned to do, and then shelved it out.
Nobody paid attention to.
I'm sorry?
Nobody paid attention.
Nobody paid attention to, right? We don't have to think outside the box. Why don't we just implement some of the ideas that are on the 2020 Commission?
The best one being?
Office of Transparency, right? Now, I'm not going to lie to you and go and say I'm going to get in there and wave a magic wand and get that to happen. I'm going to be one of 15 council members. But what I can do is I have control over my own office. Right. So I'm glad my opponent talked about the slush fund, because yes, you know what? It's a slush fund. That truck idea is a great idea, but I hope it didn't cost $1.6 million. All
right, Karen, what would be your outside the box thinking?
Okay, so one of them is that what is the number one issue? Traffic, right? Does everybody agree on that? No?
Yeah.
It is a big issue. So there's an app, a phone app called Waze that is driving people through neighborhoods instead of keeping them on the major corridors.
Right.
I'm going to work with Waze to identify where those people are going, because they have all that data on where those folks are going, and then we can steer them off the residential streets and keep them on the main streets.
All right, David felt like I didn't let him say his ideas.
I'm sorry, so what I was going to say is what I have control is my office. So I've proposed that I'm going to make my office completely transparent, open up all the books, share with you exactly what funds I have personal control over, my discretionary funds, and go one step further. I'm going to create a task force made up of community members, community leaders from the community, to vet with me to see how that money should be spent.
All right. Being transparent is not outside the box thinking. Matter of fact, we'd be happy if no politician ever used the word transparent again. Wouldn't we? Every politician's, I'm gonna be transparent, be transparent, be transparent. Okay.
Until they get it off.
Until they have a question they want to answer,
But
right?
man, I made the pledge.
Make the pledge. So what does that mean? All your, is this gonna be glass in all your offices?
No, we're gonna sit down and I'm gonna open up the books and we're gonna look at the numbers together.
All right. That's good. I mean, the city controller's doing that with his website, the mayor's doing that with his website, so. But I'm not sure how transparent we get to be, to the west side of that. All right, Matt.
We have a bunch of questions, a lot of questions, and thank you guys for submitting them. There's no way we're going to get to every single one of them. So, if I don't ask your questions, not because it wasn't the best question asked tonight, these guys are going to stick around afterwards, so they will ask your question, answer your question specifically. So I'm going to get to a handful of them. How much time do I have, Richard? How many questions? Okay. So we have quite a few questions, and again, you guys talked about development, you guys talked about specific plan. Yeah, I'm going to have to because, thank you. So you guys talked about the not taking developer money, you talked about IVT. Just a few things on the specific plan and not going against those plans. So just if we can see a thumbs up, thumbs down if you're elected. IVT.
And if the lawsuit comes back, gets thrown back?
Yeah. Carolyn?
I would vote against it. I already
Okay.
promised I would
Okay.
vote.
Sunkist?
Sunkist has to, so on that property.
As far as going with the specific plan, going with, or actually you said no specific plan changes, you didn't say it. I'm sorry. Sunkist, you're saying no? What are you saying?
I'm saying it's too dense and the community has to be involved in what goes in there.
Okay, Universal City, they're doing a huge expansion up there. They're talking about, we've got a couple questions from folks about the on-ramps and off-ramps. That's an expansion, that's a development. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
The development or the off-ramp?
The development.
It's already being built.
The off-ramp, I'm sorry. The off-ramp. The barn off-ramp, sorry.
Closing the barn.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to keep the barn off ramp open for sure.
I'm gonna work with the community to try to keep it open, but it's about, I'm gonna work with the community.
Okay. The Harvard Westlake School. Parking. Okay. Okay, good. We got through those. Okay. So these are not my questions either. These questions, if you guys are here, stand up because then they can address you directly. Elke. Actually, Elke and Jean Shapiro. Similar types of questions, but completely different. Elke, you here? Okay. Jean, you here? Okay. So Elke wants to know, what experience do you have in helping small businesses grow? And then Jean wants to know, what can you do to keep the film industry here? Business.
So what I'm already doing and working with entertainment companies is to bring tech startups to work with them to innovate new businesses. My campaign also did a letter-writing campaign to Governor Brown for the $330 million tax credit that was approved last year. I fully supported that. It was actually an initiative of a council or an assembly member who shares our district and has endorsed me, Mike Gatto. That was filming has come back in a big way already. We need more initiatives like that.
I'm a board member at the Asian Business Association. Growing up, my parents saved up enough money and we scraped money together, and instead of having a liquor store or a dry cleaner, we had a toy store. I worked at that toy store. I was pretty much the business manager because I spoke English. I did everything it took. Later on, I helped several friends open up, the largest automotive shop in the East Coast to, dental implants distribution nationwide. So I am very familiar with small businesses. Also endorsed, preferred by BizFed, and as far as the film industry, we all support the tax credits, but it's not just about the big things. It's about the small things. It's about making sure, like when it comes to the scouting locations, that we make it easier and we connect the studios and the production companies with the community so we don't disrupt the neighborhoods, but at the same time make it a win-win solution.
Okay, 3 questions on one of our favorite agencies, owned by us, the Department of Water and Power. What will you do to find the DWP's missing $40 million in return to the taxpayers? What will you do to make the DWP fix our infrastructure before giving themselves bonuses? What will you do to stop the practice of city employees transferring to the DWP to bump up their retirement benefits? Why don't you start with that, David, and then Carolyn, I think.
Yeah, you know, the way we, the first question about making them open up their books is making them follow the law. I fully support Ron Galbraith and the mayor and the city attorney. Actually, the entire citywide elected officials are trying to get them to pry open their books. You know what the funny thing is? The $40 million is a drop in the bucket. If we can't even get them to open the $40 million books, what are we? I mean, I'm just scared what they're really hiding. So, I mean, it's about going line by line items, supporting them through the city council, that whatever it takes to get them to fix their mess.
Okay, I also wholeheartedly support what the mayor and Ron Galbraith and the city attorney Mike Fuhrer are doing to hold the DWP accountable. This is vitally important that the $40 million gets turned back to the city. We need the money too. Also, I will press the DWP to get its solar program up and running so that people don't have to wait 9 months to get their solar panels connected to their electrical meters. And also, they've got to fix their billing system. How about that? How many people are still getting bad bills from the DWP? So all of this requires someone who has the experience in City Hall to work with folks in the DWP to fix these problems.
How about all that money that they spend every single year on an 800 number? We're not calling New York, we're calling Los Angeles. But they're paying an 800 service for us to call.
I can write that down, I love that.
Yeah, trust me, this organization has asked the DWP that for many, many years, and we still call 800, yeah, and then we get put on hold for a long time that we are paying for. Nice. Okay, I didn't ask a question yet. Okay, Bobby Baker, there you go, sorry. We pay for permitted parking. We have certain permitted parking districts in this area. We're not getting services. We're not getting the money back into this community, and we're also not getting the services paid for as far as long delays on having vehicles marked and then ticketed, and it's just not happening. What would you do? Carolyn first.
I would increase staffing at the DOT. Their staffing was slashed during the economic downturn. And then I would lean on the parking enforcement folks and call them until they are sick of hearing from our office and get them out to Sherman Oaks to crack down on violators. Thanks.
Enforcement is a huge problem, whether it's parking enforcement or even just enforcing the rules and regulations of like the BMO and the BHOs. But you know what, and this is an idea that came out of SOHA directly. You know, I'd look into the budget, I'll talk with DOT, see if there's any way we can figure out how we could keep some of the revenues, a portion of it that's ticketed here, to stay here, to start funding some of the other things, maybe even more enforcement issues. So that's an issue that's an idea that was generated here at SOHA, and that's something I would definitely look into.
Okay. Two different questions, similar items, but different as far as I didn't expect to see these, which is kind of cool. Esther Levy, are you here? No. Are you here? No? Okay. Avo Fabian, there you go. Okay, so Avo's question is, would you consider allowing homeowners to collect and use rainwater for indoor use to help the drought and help rebates and credits? And then Esther asked, what do you think are good landscape options for homeowners to save water? And then is gray water an option, which is a similar thing for landscaping and other uses in the home? Actually, it's David's turn first.
Actually, the Department of Water Power already has a program where you could have by the rainwater capturing buckets. I think we should expand that. I think we should make it an opportunity to see where else we could do about water capture techniques or water saving techniques, especially during this drought. As far as drought resistance, I mean, there's all these companies now who are even on the percentage that the DOEP is giving back to convert from your lawn to drought resistant plants. They're using that to completely convert without no money out of your pocket. So we got to expand those programs, educate on those programs, and see what more we can do.
Okay, with that, we have just time for the closing statements.
Oh, wait, hold. Carol gets the last.
Oh, you did? Oh. You.
Is that because she's a woman?
Sally, do I do that because she's a woman? It is Sally, thank you very much. Thank you for your comments. Carolyn, I'm sorry.
Okay, so my campaign actually did a tour of drought-tolerant gardens, and we're going to do another one in Sherman Oaks to show people how they can have a beautiful, beautiful garden in their home and save so much money. DWP gives you $3.75 a square foot now to swap out your lawn. And you can have a beautiful garden. So I'm a huge supporter of that. Also, gray water, you can use gray water in your to irrigate now. So the DWP does do those hookups. But part of my major infrastructure plan is to expand the Purple Pipe program throughout the city. The Parks Department now uses Purple Pipe, reclaimed water, to irrigate a lot of the parks in Los Angeles, but we should be using it to irrigate all of our parks. So that is part of my infrastructure upgrade.
Thank you, thank you. And before we do the closing statements, I want everyone to please thank Phil Schuman for making sure the candidates answer the questions that were asked. And please see him on Channel 11 News. So, and after we do the two closing statements, please come up here and talk one-on-one with the candidates. Please clean up, otherwise Chuck and Jules will be here all night long, and recyclables right here with Elkie. So, first closing statement, 45 seconds. That's what I said, 90 seconds. And David.
You know, this election is very clear. It's basically insider versus outsider. Status quo versus change. If you think City Hall is running great, running efficiently, there's no problems there. If you think your city council is doing a great job, then maybe I'm not your candidate. But if you think City Hall could be better, if you think City Council could be more efficient, if you think City Hall could be receptive to new, fresh ideas, then I'm your candidate. But you know, talk is cheap. You know, how can you truly be an independent voice? How can my opponent be an independent voice if she's being supported and propped up by the same people that she's trying to change? Right? Will she stand up for the developers who have donated to her? Will she stand up to Council President Wesson, who has endorsed her? Will she be able to stand up to the DWP unions who have supported her? Will she stand up for them, or will she stand up for you, the community, and the voters? How can she ever put through reform and change if she's being supported by those very people that don't want that to happen? On May 19th, I hope for your consideration for your vote. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Carolyn?
Wow. I have not been supported by the DWP. I don't even know where that came from. Look, I was a mom. I got involved in planting trees in my neighborhood. Then I became president of my neighborhood association. And I went to work for the city to make changes in the neighborhoods of the 4th District, to do community building, tree planting, park improvements, to get your streets paved, to get your street trees trimmed. And that's what I've been doing for the last 8 years. And I love the work I've been doing. I love Los Angeles. When I was a kid growing up, my family moved around from city to city because my father was a coach in the NBA, Jack Ramsey. And so I got to see how different cities operate. By the time I moved here with my husband, this was the 8th state I lived in. And I turned to him and said, this is the best place in the country. We have to do everything we can to stay here. So I love it here. I've worked for the last 15 years to improve this city. And if that makes me an insider, then I guess I'm guilty. But I am here for Sherman Oaks. I've delivered for Sherman Oaks. I want to work with you to make Sherman Oaks what you want it to be. I'm not beholden to anybody except the people in the 4th District. You know, my opponent is making a big deal about contributions. More than 70% of the people who supported me are people who live in the 4th District.
Thank you very much.
That's who I'm beholden to. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, thank you, audience, and please come up and one of these two people is going to be your next council member.